And welcome to Boomer Live. We are here to talk about the India versus South Africa game which just got over. It was a spicy pitch which was given to the Indians today in Perth as we expected. Indians got off to the worst possible start they could imagine. They were 5 down below 50 and 10 overs, and from there on it was Surya Kumar Yadav who played a blinder of innings. It was a top knock to take India to a respectable total which they would have expected to defend. South Africa also got off to not the best of starts. They lost 2 wickets under 3 runs, but then it was Markram and Miller. India have a lot of things to ponder now, especially on the field. There were some big holes which they had to do. They faltered quite a bit, which has come to haunt India ultimately. When it comes to the entire scenario of the group, if you're a Pakistan fan, um, look away at this point because it's not looking good for Pakistan at all. There was almost 1.8 million billion people were cheering, including India and Pakistan's population today, and ultimately it did not work out. It had to be South Africa who came out to be the party poopers, and now what else? It's now going to be South Africa who's going to probably top the table as well. I have Jaren and Sandeepani with me. Jaren, you were right in pointing out last night that South Africa are the favorites, and they did come out stating that it was a brilliant performance from South Africa. They were thumping out. They had authority while bowling. They were proper with their lengths. They knew they could trouble Indian batters with the short pitch bowling, and most of the Indian batters fell to the short pitch bowling.
Yeah, and I was just going over, the analysis by Star Sports where they were showing Lungi Nigiti's spell, and he was just bowling back of the length all throughout the innings, and that's where India really struggled. And you expected that South Africans will come hard at you, and they're gonna make life difficult. There was gonna be a lot of chin music, and that's what we saw today as well. I think Virat Kohli was the only one who I felt was a bit unlucky to get out because he got a snorter really. The ball just kept climbing on him despite, and hurried him really quickly. And then the catch by Rabada, that's something you can't deal with as a batsman. And you needed that kind of brilliance to get Kohli out because he was looking good the amount of time that he stayed there. But as I said, Suryakumar Yadav enjoyed batting on this pitch. There were lots of chances for South Africa, but, he was a tad bit lucky as well when some of the shots that he played when the ball went high in the air just eluded players, and I think he was a bit lucky that Temba Bavuma ended up on most of those occasions being the shortest of the fielders on that pitch. If Markram, for instance, was the one chasing that ball, I think it could have been the end of Suryakumar Yadav as well. But having said that, incredible bowling performance from South Africa.
I
I
don't
think,
want to say anything, but I don't know why I'm laughing.
yeah, I think Abel, it's
I've lost it at this
it's just a
point.
bad day, I would say. For
I mean,
Pakistan, first two matches went really Pakistan's way, and then from there to
I don't
really
know
have the
because
second match.
there's a lot of things on the comments, especially saying that why India lost. Virat Kohli just faltered. I think Virat Kohli came back to haunt Pakistan twice in
Yeah,
seven
I
days.
think Virat Kohli
And both the,
dropped, ended there.
I don't think it has to blame a lot to Virat Kohli, but I think Pakistan. I know a lot of fans are raging out there on Twitter and social media, saying this match was fixed. Blah blah.
Yeah, I think this was coming. The moment Virat Kohli dropped the catch, I
Yeah.
could see the Twitter comments coming, flooding through my
I mean, it's
head.
just unfair
Virat
to be
Kohli
honest.
doesn't want India to win, and Indian wants to throw the match away. But to be very honest, they could have thrown the match away the moment they lost 4 wickets. But India didn't. India fought back, and to be very honest, I don't think India lost the match in the first innings. I think India lost the match at in the ninth over onwards. Ninth over to 11th over when Rohit Sharma missed that when run out. Sorry, Surya
I
Kumar
mean,
Yadav
I think
missed the run
it's
out
very
of
unfair to be honest.
Miller for
I
one
mean,
run. I mean, when he was 3 for 12, 3 runs of 12 deliveries. I think both Markram and Miller started really panicking. There were some bad calls, some mix-ups, ball going in the air, and Virat Kohli dropping Markram there costed India 17 runs.
mm,
And from there on, when I mean, someone like Rohit Sharma and Suryakumar Yadav not able to get the runouts on, I mean, the balls on target. That is where India lost. For example, Miller had only scored 3 runs when Suryakumar Yadav's chance came in. And I would still give it to Suryakumar Yadav. He was off balance, always aiming at 3 stumps. It costed India 56 runs there from Miller's bat. And if
mm,
Miller had gone out right then and there, even regardless of if Markram had gone out or not, I think the pressure would have come on to Markram. Markram would have
mm,
definitely gotten out as well because South Africa
yeah,
were choking at that stage from 8 to 11 overs. And if you look at,
yeah.
the win rate of sorts, India was on top the moment South Africa lost those 3 wickets after Temba
Mm.
Bavuma. In
Yeah.
that eighth over, when South Africa were choking, India choked even worse. And that's where I think India lost the game.
True. Sandipani, we know that this is not going to be a happy result for India at all. For India, they'll be not happy with the result because many people are saying that India will be happy with the result that they were able to knock out three teams from the entirety of the group. I don't think so because for India now every game is a must win. They can't afford to lose against even Bangladesh or they can't even afford to lose against Zimbabwe because you don't know what's going to happen with this World Cup. They have to be in their A game. And today was one of those days, and you expect these kind of days happening earlier on in the tournament than happening in the latter half of the tournament. And you lost to a good South African team who were ready to come out there. Their plans were spot on. What do you have to say about the loss in entirety? I don't think it was not awful cricket, but then there were mistakes, were like unforced errors which you could have absolutely corrected.
No, no, I think India in general will be very disappointed with the result of this game because not just that now, even for India, the games against Bangladesh and Zimbabwe are must win games. Not just that, even if India goes on to win both these games, and even if that happens and South Africa still manages to beat Pakistan and Netherlands, South Africa will still go into the semifinals leading this group. So India will have to face the table toppers from the other group in the semifinals itself, which is not the ideal result that India would have anticipated. So with
Hmm.
this loss, they have potentially lost out on the pole position in this group as well. And now the pressure is on them as well to sort of come out strong in the game against Bangladesh and Zimbabwe. Although they'll be starting as strong favorites in both the games, but you never know. With rain playing a spoil sport, sometimes there are so many things that can happen. So in these big tournaments where you have six teams in one group and only two will qualify, you need to win every game. You need to latch on to any opportunity that you will get. And I think tonight
Hmm.
India missed a big opportunity to sort of take that control in that table and sort of top the group hands down. But having said that,
Absolutely.
I think they bowled really well. They had 133 on the board. That was, I think, at least 10 to 15 runs below par. I mean, the commentators were saying that Pakistan scored 130, Zimbabwe scored 130, and Pakistan could not chase it in the same ground. But there are lots of factors. This South African batting unit is definitely stronger than what Pakistan has, especially if you just take out their openers. And also the pitch, once after the 10 overs, we have seen that the run flow sort of increases, and it becomes easier to score after that 10th over. Even if you see that South Africa were just 40 for 3 at the end of 10 overs. So the pressure was creeping on them. India started off brilliantly, but again, it was one of those days. And India has not been one of the top fielding sides in this World Cup. Even leading up to the game yesterday, I was very skeptical about India's fielding, and it came back to haunt them as well. And you have to, when you're playing South Africa and a strong South African team in this big matches, you will have to take those half chances. I mean, the run out that Surya Kumar missed was quite difficult, but the catch that Kohli missed and the run out that Rohit Sharma eventually missed was absolutely sitters. And any day, I mean, you expect any day all of these players to sort of get that run out done or take that catch. But also, and India made a couple of changes that did not work for them. Akshar Patel was taken out. Deepak Huda came in. I think SS98 suggested yesterday that can they go ahead with Deepak Huda ahead of Akshar Patel. I still believe that can be an approach that you can take in the future. But again, since spinners were actually the faster spinners who were bowling fast was getting some assistance in this pitch earlier on in the previous matches as well. I think Akshar Patel could have played tonight. So they
Yeah.
went they wanted to strengthen their batting, which did not work out. Deepak Huda got out for a duck. 49 for 5. This sort of a start from the Indian team has come after a long time.
Hmm.
And like you mentioned, I think it is better that it came in the group stage rather than coming in the knockouts, because we have
Right.
seen that in multi-nation tournaments in um, such a World Cup or Champions Trophy, they have crumbled in the knockout stages in the past.
I
So
mean, it's
definitely
a
not
good
an ideal
reality check
thing.
for a team, to have a loss like this. But at the same time,
Yeah.
you'll have to also improve. It doesn't mean that you keep falling apart from here on. You have to improve very quickly. You have a match in 2 days' time. You're going to be playing in Adelaide, where India has loved playing over the last time around when India went there, it was not happy memories. But definitely from here on, India would definitely like to make sure Adelaide is where they seal that playoff spot, moving into that top two and almost knocking Bangladesh out from there. But now moving ahead. we have to talk about Indian batting over here. Especially when it comes to KL Rahul, as Kapil has rightly mentioned, played a maiden over up there, and it's also putting a lot of pressure on Rohit Sharma. You know, when KL Rahul is accumulating a lot of dot balls up front, it's not going to be easy for your opening partner to, also start off slow. The opening partner has to go blazing from there on. That's why you saw Rohit Sharma taking a lot more risk, which meant that which gave KL Rahul a lot more time to settle down. But then the moment you play maiden over up front in T20 cricket, you're playing with 19 overs, and KL Rahul was looking in no touch at all. Again, I know he played a very good shot of Parnell. That's what's wrong with KL Rahul. Time and time again, he has got the talent, he's got the potential to possibly be one of the finest openers of the country, but he doesn't maximize it. There's a mental block with it. But now Dinesh Karthik seems to be injured. I don't know how far this injury is going to affect him, affect his time. How long is he going to be out? If he's not going to play the next match, which means Rishabh Pant will definitely play, and which also means KL Rahul will retain his position in the team, and Rishabh Pant will have to be slotted in the middle order. Your thoughts, Jaren, because it's not happy time for India up top.
Yeah, I mean, I think KL Rahul, is you saw the way he got out today as well. It was a nothing shot really. He started to hang his bat outside off stump in hopes that it connects with the ball, and that's where you and it's a sign also. The fact that he's like, accumulating so many dots is a sign that he's really not able to get going, and he's not able to get the get the feel of the ball and play good shots. He's trying to I think he's trying to hit every delivery that comes his way. The kind of way when batsmen are searching for form, it is said that they try and go hard at the ball, and that's what we saw today as well. And once he gets out, right, you can see from the reaction on the face of KL Rahul how disappointed, how annoyed with himself he is, and at this point in time, I think it's getting really, I mean, all of us are upset at this, but at the same time, you have to feel for KL Rahul. I think World Cups have not been his stage, to be very honest. He loves the bilateral series, but World Cups, that I think that
Are
pressure
you
really
sure about
mounts
that?
at
Even
him.
bilateral series, I
Yeah,
know
he has
but it
struggled
doesn't give you
against
that
Sri Lanka
impact. He
nations, but
plays on those occasions where there is
yeah,
no
but
pressure of result.
that's the
Even
best
series
part about it,
deciders,
right? Even
to be very fair, in bilateral
yeah, yeah,
series deciders, he falters again. I don't know what really
correct,
comes up
correct.
to him. He is not able to perform under pressure. If you can't take pressure, then maybe this game is not good for you. And maybe international stage can really make you look like an idiot. And that's something which KL Rahul will have to get over. I know this is prime KL Rahul. You're 30 years at this point, and you'll have to hit your peak now. This was a tournament where KL Rahul really had to make off his own. I don't know if there's going to be another opportunity for KL Rahul to really own the stage. I'm not, as Kapil rightly mentioned, we're not even going to be sure if team management is going to entrust him. Now, he's having a mental block there. He's not confident of himself as a batter. I'm not sure is he the right man to even lead India in the future, as he's named the vice captain. Today, if you notice, he was not the vice captain of the team. Today, he was not the vice captain of the team. It was Virat Kohli who was vice captain of the team today. And you saw it. I don't know how many of you noticed it. Virat Kohli was the second man in charge. Even during the national anthems, you saw the vice captain always goes behind Rohit Sharma. And the ones who was giving advice to Rohit Sharma was Virat Kohli today. So, which meant today's game, the vice captain was Virat Kohli in the absence of KL Rahul. I mean, though KL Rahul was part of the team. So, is this something that team management is trying to say, that you don't take responsibility at all? Just move away from that responsibility and just play your own game. What do you think about that, Sandipani?
I think KL Rahul in general, yesterday we spoke about him. He has been like he has admitted to being in some sort of a mental block. I think he's a way better player than what he is performing, what his performance has shown in the recent past. He has been. He also, it does not look to be that he's in out of form or something, because he comes, he plays one or two shots every innings that you cannot hit if you're not in form. But that shot of Parnell was exquisite. But then again, you have KL Rahul playing maiden overs, building the pressure on Rohit Sharma, and eventually getting out at the wrong time. And I think not just KL Rahul, I think tonight in general, all the batsmen apart from Surya Kumar Yadav and probably Virat Kohli started off really, like Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma started off okayish. But other than that, I think all the batters, KL Rahul, Hardik Pandya, Dinesh Karthik, Ashwin, nobody had a good game. Deepak Huda, all of them had a horrible game with the bat, especially because they just did not get going. And that partnership that Dinesh Karthik built with Surya Kumar Yadav was actually not something that ideally India would have loved, because yeah, they needed a partnership desperately at 49 for 5. But Dinesh Karthik's contribution in that partnership could have been at least run a ball. I mean, 5 of 14
Yeah.
at that stage is not nothing that a team will really appreciate. Probably, if they wanted, they could have probably pushed Ashwin up the order as well. Because if they want to use somebody like a Dinesh Karthik as only a finisher, sending him to bat at the end of the eighth over or in the eighth over does not really make any sense. And the innings
Yeah.
that he played actually showed that the team management did not actually give him the access or license to go after the bowling. They were very conservative with their approach. They wanted to keep wickets in hand till the 15th over, and they did. India were
So I
101 for
think
5
that
at
was
the
a
end.
fair approach as well, Sandipani, because your next batsman coming in is Ashwin, and then your quality declines with
Yeah,
Bhuvnesh
Yeah,
so
at
Kumar.
might as
that
well put
point, it was a
Ashwin up
decent
the
approach.
order.
We have 5 down for 50, and
Yeah, I
from
feel
there
I
on, you
think
had to build
Sandipani
up.
is on to something. I think Ashwin would have been a better choice because I
Yeah,
felt at that point in time when the ball was doing a bit, when Ashwin came into bat, he looked more assured. I'm not saying Ashwin is a better batsman than Dinesh Karthik, but at that stage in time, Ashwin is someone who's really good at
no,
rotating
I
strike. He's
think
someone who's
the
good
job
at getting off
clarity,
strike.
if you are like giving Dinesh Karthik the sort of naming him as the finisher of the team, you expect him to come in the 13th, 14th over and finish the game for you, or probably in the 15th, 16th over and finish the game for you, as we have seen in the past as well. If India loses wickets early, they send in somebody like an Akshar Patel ahead of Dinesh Karthik. Or even we have seen Dinesh Karthik come in at number 7, number 8,
Hmm.
somewhere close to the 16th or 17th over. So I think Ashwin is technically sound. Ashwin is a player that can come in the 8th or 9th over and steady the ship. If you need someone to rotate the strike, sort of knock the ball around, I think Ashwin would have been a better option at that stage, because India were not really going anywhere with their approach, and I think they had this conservative approach which paid off. But they were 101 for 5 at the end of 15 overs. From
Yeah.
there on, you don't expect India to finish at 133 for 9. It should have been at least 145, 146, just 45 runs of the last 5, with Surya Kumar Yadav and Dinesh Karthik having played in excess of 15, 16 deliveries. But Dinesh Karthik got out at the wrong time. And that is where I think they could have sort of brought in Ashwin a bit early, so that Dinesh Karthik would have got in somewhere in
I
between 12
thought
13 overs.
there wasn't, especially on the top, but especially from your openers, I just had a feeling that they could have taken their time quite a bit, especially on a track like this. Maybe if Rohit Sharma
Yeah.
wouldn't have gone for the shot. If Rohit Sharma would have given him a little bit more time on a track like this, would have really benefited him. Today was a kind of day you could have taken a lot more time, because 150 was a good score on this wicket. You didn't want a 170 or a 180. I think that's too much to ask for from a Perth wicket. If you're getting 180, it's equal to 220 on any other surface across the world, or maybe even more than that. Because on this wicket, all what you wanted was a 150, 155, which would have secured you a lot more. An asking rate of close to 8 is never easy, especially in a wicket like Perth, because every dot ball you play, the asking rate is going to climb up, and then ultimately you're going to be under pressure. And today, if you have to, look in hindsight, where you fell short was exactly by 15 to 14 runs. 150 would have sealed the game for you. Maybe even Surya Kumar Yadav, if you would have stayed for the last over, who knows? Maybe extra 10 runs would have really helped you to push that
Yeah,
score
also
to
regarding that, I think
145, 150.
Surya Kumar Yadav did not really get a lot of strike towards the end of his innings.
Yes.
Dinesh Karthik did hog a lot of strike, and after that, even Ashwin hogged a lot of strike. I mean, 11 balls, 7 runs of 11 balls coming into bat at the 16th over, when you have somebody like a Surya Kumar Yadav going in, so like he was going really well. He was starting to hit he was actually trying to hit all the balls towards the boundaries, and he was
This
timing the ball really well.
clearly showed if you're ready to spend close to 30 plus balls on this wicket, you can bat well. It'll get easier for you because you will get accustomed to the bounce. If you're going to spend even 10, 15 balls, not enough on this wicket. You
I
need to
think
spend
even
at
that's why
least 30 balls.
KL Rahul's innings is very important. If KL Rahul was rotating the strike, and at least if India was scoring at a run rate of, let's say, 5 or 4.5 as well, it would have been fine. India would have, I mean, Rohit Sharma wouldn't have to take that risk. But I think it was a combination of two. It was also the fact that India is when they're batting first, India has had that approach of going after the bowling. And I think one of the commentators also mentioned on the air that India tried to fight fire with fire, but in the end, India is the one who got burned. And that's why maybe in another direction you could argue that South Africa chasing that score of maybe 130 or 135 felt more assured, because they knew they could have calculated somewhere someplace, but India maybe wanted a score of 160 odd, 160 plus, and that's why they felt going after the bowling initially was
I
important.
also will agree to the fact that in a game like this, India should have gone chasing rather than batting first, because you add an extra batter in your team. When you had someone like a Deepak Hooda, which meant that you're comfortable batting second, you had enough you had enough resources to chase on this wicket. You could have possibly restricted them to a 125, 130.
But I
It would
feel
have,
if
it
India
wouldn't
would
have
have
been
got
easy.
at least 10 or 15 runs more, I think they would have defended it comfortably. 140, 150. Also, the fact that South Africa was not at all getting going in the first 10 overs, they were 40 for 3. And if the target would have been in excess of 140 or say 145, so they would have looked at it at say they needed more than 10 runs per over in the last 10. And the pitch was not at all looking easy, so they could have India could have, and on the field also they really lost it on the field as well. So batting and fielding, I mean, 10 runs more with the bat and a bit more alertness on the field, I think India would have had the game, because we could see
Hmm.
that the set batsman Miller was actually struggling to hit Shami in that penultimate over as well. He was not at all getting the timing right.
Yeah.
The fact that Miller got comfortable was the 2 overs that Ashwin bowled. And I think Ashwin went for 17 runs in his penultimate
Yeah.
over, and then in the last over also 2 sixes of the first 2 balls really killed the game.
I mean, yeah, maybe there's another point of argument as well. Should Rhodes have gone for Ashwin at that point, or maybe he could have held back Ashwin until the
See, we
20th
have
over?
seen that players have tried to hold back their spinner or
No,
their
I
fifth
think
bowling
Ashwin
option till
coming in
the
that
end.
time was a good idea, and
Yeah,
I
I
think
also
the
think it
reason
was
for
a
that
good
is
idea.
because
I'll not be
you
harsh on
had
him because
much more runs in the kitty, and Tristan Stubbs, for example, struggled. Where Ashwin went really wrong is the fact that he balled the wrong length of the first
yeah, the
first
first
ball
two
of his
balls were
penultimate
really
over,
full and it traveled.
and
Actually
yeah,
traveled.
and the second ball as well. The moment he dragged his length back in that over itself, you saw David Miller struggle, you saw Tristan Stubbs struggle, because once you pull the length back, the ball was skidding on, it was gripping a little bit, slightly. You saw, for example, Lungi Nigiri towards the end of his over, or when Wayne Parnell got the wicket of Suryakumar Yadav, he balled that cutter back of the length, he balled that cutter the quick cutter, right? It was not the slow ball cutter of sorts, it was a quicker one, and it gripped slightly on the surface. So that is what helped Ashwin initially. For example, the drop catch of Markram, that's why Markram really struggled to get, attack Ashwin, because it was difficult to get underneath the ball. And that's where the ball went up in the air. But the moment Ashwin balled in front of the stumps, the spin was not as much, and also
The ball was
David
not
Miller
spinning.
rather,
I mean, even the
was able
wicket
to
that
set
Ashwin
up,
got, it
and
was
he
a
was able to
carom ball.
attack him down the ground. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
in pitches
and
like
also I
Perth
don't think
or
the
Melbourne,
pitch was actually
yeah,
spinning for Ashwin, because the carom ball that he bought, it just went with this line. It did
It
not at
no,
all
wasn't
spin.
it was
spinning.
gripping slightly. It wasn't turning. It
Yeah, it
was
was
gripping
gripping,
slightly. It
definitely
was
gripping,
holding
but
a little
not at
bit.
all spinning.
Yeah, it was not spinning at all, but it was gripping slightly. It was like not easy to hit off the back of the length,
But you
because the ball
expect
was
somebody
coming
of
in much
Ashwin's
quicker.
caliber, when he gets the ball in the 18th over bowling against David Miller, he should have sort of held his
I
length
mean,
back.
if you would have considered one less six, at least now looking back at it, it could have been a little more easier. If it was one less six, one
Also,
shot, I
see,
always
the
expected
thing
one
is,
big shot
the
coming.
match really went close. I mean, they needed 5 runs to win of last 4 deliveries, and
Yeah.
the boundary that David Miller hit was very streaky. It flew off the
Yeah.
top edge.
Now,
So
now, if you
basically,
look
But
another
I
back at it,
also
10 runs.
feel,
Spencer Bauma's
I
six
also
comes
feel,
to
Ashwin was
really
bowling
help that
really
team.
well. I feel
Yeah,
Ashwin was bowling really well until that drop catch in the 11th over, and that really broke Ashwin. That's the best way to put it. Because as a bowler, you're really on top of your game on a pitch which is not at all helped spinners. I mean, Maharaj, for instance, struggled, but Ashwin was
Yeah.
really bowling well till the 11th over. He was keeping.
That's
He was
where
one
you
of the
have to
reasons
take
why.
your chances
And you
in a
saw
wicket
once
like
the drop catch happened, you could see Ashwin's face. I think there was, to be very honest, the same reaction I gave when Virat Kohli dropped that catch.
yeah.
And from there on, and on that pitch, once as a bowler, you lose that rhythm. From there on, I think Ashwin was trying a lot more to get a wicket. He was trying to ball those wicket deliveries, and that's where Ashwin really faltered, I felt.
Hmm. I mean, to be
But then
honest,
again,
yes.
he came back strong in the last 3 deliveries. But the match was already done and dusted. 12 needed of 15 balls. There was no game. Like, the match was already over.
Yeah, this game could have been much more entertaining if India would have scored 10 or 15 runs more.
Yeah,
Ultimately,
just
you are
10
looking at
runs.
this point,
Just
and
reach that
you have to
140
grab your
mark and
chances. Whatever chance you get on the field in the low scoring matches, that's why you have to be on spot with the field. You can't tend to falter here with a run out or with even a half chance or whatever you get. You have to pick those catches, or else ultimately you
Yeah.
can just look back at it and feel that you could have done this better, that better. The should haves and would have will come into picture even more. But for India now moving ahead, of course, this game is now done and dusted. For South Africa, they're well placed on top of the table now. They'll be feeling a lot more comfortable, and they'll believe that they can go on to defeat Pakistan as well. But for Pakistan, I know they got a win today, but even there they struggled. It was not the most convincing win. That's what Netherlands would have felt if they had scored 130, 140. This could have been a different game altogether once again. Because in Perth, anything above 140 can be a tough thing to chase in Perth, and it's not an easy track. We've seen that time and time again. But good news is that for Indians, they don't have to play any more games in Optus Stadium. Even the qualifiers, even the playoffs, even the semi-finals are in Sydney and Adelaide, which are better on the batting surfaces compared to anywhere else in Australia. Where would India like to play their semi-final? If India finish second, they'll play New Zealand in Sydney, where New Zealand have got a very good hold now. They won two of their games in Sydney. If they finish first, they play Adelaide. Adelaide is a ground which helps the batters a lot more. But at the same time, even your ballers also will play slightly better. So where will India prefer to play? Finishing second and playing in Sydney, or finishing first and playing in Adelaide?
I
Definitely,
think
they would love
India,
to finish
yes,
first
yes.
and lead the table so that they get to play the second team on the other group as well.
Doesn't make a lot of difference though, because if New Zealand goes on to lose to England, that's a table which anybody you play, it's all of the same stature. It does not
See,
make a lot of difference.
at the end of it all, if you want to be world champions, you'll have to beat them all.
You
So
have to beat the best. So it doesn't
yeah,
matter whoever you play from the, especially a tournament
No, I
like
think
this.
that's the thing about, I mean, again, going against the best, right? You don't have a lot of margin for errors. And in today's game, I think both the teams made mistakes, but it was India who made more mistakes and the costlier mistakes, so as to speak. Because whenever, for example, a catch, a drop was made by South Africa or a catch was missed by South Africa, they went made to pay as much as maybe India was made to pay today. So I think, and there was a lot of luck involved as well. For instance, I think after the 11th over or so you saw a lot of deliveries where ballers got the best of batters. For example, when Hardik Pandya was bowling, there was a top edge which went behind the keepers for six. Temba Bavuma six that went over the top.
that finally came back to haunt
Even
India.
in the
Even is
last
perfectly
over,
right. I
when
mean that
the
Timber
glove,
Bavuma six.
even the glove, the slight bit of glove that David Miller's shot went for a boundary. So those kind of shots you can't do a lot. And I think if I really have to put together, there are three or four of those chances. You've lost like 22 runs just because of these kind of chances. So
Mm.
maybe somewhere luck also did not go India's way. But yeah, India. It's not like India did not. It's not like India needed luck because India could have really taken
No,
control of this
I
game.
think
That's
in
where
general luck plays a factor, but tonight I think South Africa were better in all the three facets of the game.
But it
They
is just
bowled better,
slightly
they
better,
batted
right? I
better,
mean,
they
as an
fielded
Indian
better.
fan, you wouldn't say that India didn't fight. I think it was just slightly better that South Africa did. India's mistakes
I
really
think
cost
it
them.
was it was a very close game. Ultimately, if you look
Yeah,
at things, it was
yeah.
not a
It was,
one-sided game.
the game
India
going
were
down to the
there in the
last
game.
over, it was definitely a very close game. But
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
you know
definitely,
games where a
South Africa
team
was
cruises to
still
the last
better in
over
all
and
the three
finishes things
facets.
off. It was not a game where South Africa were cruising. You
Yeah.
knew India were always in with a chance, and India did not
And also,
grab the chances.
NGD has a brilliant record against India across all formats. So once again, the golden arm for South Africa picking up 4 wickets in the first 3 overs itself, and then
Yeah.
big fishes as well. So I mean, absolutely destroying the Indian top order. So
Yeah,
brilliant
of
bowling
course.
from NGD. Yeah.
Once you lose more than 3 wickets in a power play while batting first, it's an uphill task for you to even set a target. If Virat Kohli and Suryakumar Yadav would have batted for close to maybe till 15th over, then you would have seen a different score. India would have been much more confident of posting 160, 170. Then you would have said that this was a total domination by India. But the moment you lost Virat Kohli, you were under pressure. Deepak Huda
And I
was playing
think
his first
right
game.
after that, losing, someone like Hardik Pandya as well,
Yeah.
you would have expected Hardik Pandya also to do
See, when
very same.
Hardik came to bat, we were already four down. If you were
Yeah.
three down or four
Three
down
down,
by
no,
then. It
four
was
down,
not
four down.
Yeah,
four
but I
down. We were
mean,
four
from
down.
there also you expected at least until then, I mean, at least for me, I believe that Hardik and Suryakumar Yadav, if they had batted till 12th or 13th over, especially Hardik Pandya on this kind of a pitch where the ball is coming onto the bat a lot more,
You
he
know
would have
what
been
they
very
should have
handy. But
done? Ideally, so they should have sent Dinesh Karthik ahead of Hardik Pandya, because Keshav Maharaj had overs back towards the back end. That's why you could have held back someone like a Hardik Pandya to come after the 10th over, send Dinesh Karthik ahead of Hardik Pandya, and you would have had a better shot at it. If Dinesh Karthik would have gotten out at that point, okay, it's okay, but then you would rather give Hardik Pandya the better chance to go against a spinner than to put him straight up against quality pacers who were charging in at a good rhythm out there, especially Ngidi spell. You could have countered that by sending in someone like a Dinesh Karthik, or maybe even Ashwin at that stage, and
Yeah,
maybe a
I think
held back.
I would have definitely sent in Ashwin ahead of Dinesh Karthik for sure. I don't know whether I would have sent him ahead of Hardik Pandya, because Hardik Pandya has looked in great form. He has looked in great form against the seamers as well. Yeah, he struggles in the ball pulled outside the off stump, and some of the shorter deliveries he struggles to get those away. But so far I haven't really found Hardik Pandya actually struggle against Pacers. He probably struggles to score quickly off them, but he can definitely
Maybe at
hold
that
his
point
own.
when Ngidi was on top of his game, it wasn't the right idea. If tactically speaking, Hardik Pandya is better off facing Keshav Maharaj, where he had maybe four
Definitely,
overs
definitely,
or
definitely.
from 10 to 20 overs, he had 4 overs to ball in that area. Hardik Pandya had better chance of going up against him. You never know. Hardik Pandya could have given an extra 10 to 15 runs, which would have made a difference there. Tactical calls had to be made. I thought India very poor tactically speaking in this entire game, in a lot of aspects, especially putting in Huda, which I thought was
Yeah,
not a
I think that
necessity in
was
this
just
wicket.
not required. And I think if
I
you
think
really bring in a batter, you should
Huda
bring in.
would have fared well if you would have put Huda
See, if you're
in the
not
team sheet
I
when the
think
playing,
in
game against
today's
Bangladesh.
on today's pitch, you had to
Yeah,
either bring in
not
a
today's pitch.
very good
Definitely not on
batter.
today's pitch.
You had
if
to
you're
bring in a
replacing
very good
Akshar
batter.
Patel, a left-hander, you should have brought in Rishabh Pant, not Deepak Huda. And
Yeah, I
I
think.
think I
Yeah,
think Rishabh Pant
exactly.
would have
That's my
done
point.
very good
So
in this
today,
wicket.
instead, you had either two options. If you want to strengthen your batting lineup, you would have had to bring a batter who could really, save you from blushes. Someone like Rishabh Pant. Or else, what you would have to do is you have to bring in another pacer.
And you had better
Because
chance with Rishabh Pant
you didn't
as well.
even give Deepak Huda
Also,
bowling.
I just don't
So he
understand
was
this
completely
fact. Why is
ineffective.
Deepak Huda treated as only a batsman? Whenever Rohit plays him, yeah, I understand the pitch was not really assisting the spinners, but Huda can come in and bowl 1 or 2 overs. He can just dart the ball in something
See, if
that.
India knew they were not going to use Deepak Huda today, they should have never brought him into the 11th
Yeah,
Yes.
or
definitely.
whatever.
I don't think the only reason they would have slotted Deepak Huda ahead of Rishabh Pant was the fact that he could have been the sixth bowling option. But Rohit Sharma at the start of the game or at the start of the innings, he's sure that he's not going to give any other bowler a chance because he, no matter how much runs Ashwin is conceding or Hardik Pandya is conceding, they always get to bowl their quota of 4 overs. And I have seen this that whenever Deepak Huda plays under Rohit Sharma, he does not get to bowl. So that does not really make sense if you're playing Deepak Huda as a batter, it is not justified slotting him ahead of Rishabh Pant, especially in
Okay.
Australia at this sort of pitch. And if you are
Hmm.
expecting a all-rounder like an all-rounder Deepak Huda to turn up, I understand this call, but not at this pitch. I think Akshar Patel was better
Yeah.
suited in this pitch. He
Yeah,
would have
absolutely.
Deepak Huda could have been an option going further in the tournament. I mentioned yesterday he could have India could have tried him in the game against Bangladesh or Zimbabwe because if they would have won today, India would have had a safe cushion of one game and they could have tried on a few options. But I did not expect India to make these drastical changes ahead of a crucial clash
No, but
because
that was a very poor tactical call, which
yeah,
did not make any sense, and it did backfire for you even in the Asia Cup. So these are things which India should have learned from Asia Cup. You don't want to be making the same mistake in the next game. I'm not sure what is going to be a team combination if Dinesh Karthik is injured. See, Kapil, I'd say one thing: it's you will lose momentum, which is a very big factor. But in T20 cricket and especially in group stage, you should be also ready to lose one here or there. It's not going to be a cent-person record run for your team throughout the course of T20 World Cup. If you look at all the champion teams in T20 World Cups, likes of West Indies in 2016, they lost to Afghanistan. India in 2007 lost to New Zealand. If I
and
have to
not
say,
just T20. I think India has lost at least one game in all the multi-nation tournaments that they have won, barring Asia Cup. I'm talking about multi-nation as
I'm saying that
international
even
tournaments.
2011 World Cup, you lost to South Africa in the group
Yeah.
stage. Last year's champions Australia lost to England. They got battered by England very big time, and then they went on to win the tournament. So it's okay to lose one, but at the same time, it's important to come back stronger as well. So it's where you stand, especially on the field. You have to get on improving. Especially with the short pitch bowling, teams will look to trouble you even a lot more. I know now the pitches going ahead will not be this faster like what you had in Perth. Adelaide is going to be comparatively slower, and in terms of bounce as well, it's going to be easier. I'm not seeing any matches in Adelaide so far. I think that's going to be the first match played in Adelaide if India was Bangladesh.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a good game to watch. I'm really eager to see what is the pitch going to be like in Adelaide because we've not seen a lot of Adelaide through the course of this tournament. So you'll have a better understanding as to how Adelaide pitch is going to play out towards the latter end as well. I think Bangladesh versus India is going to be a good game. Taskin Ahmed is
And
bowling
I
very
think
well. So
Bangladesh versus Zimbabwe was a great contest and something that you expect of from a Bangladesh versus Zimbabwe game. They have had a long rivalry. They were the
yeah,
ninth and 10th position sides in ODI and Test cricket
mm,
for a long, long time in the 2000s and 2010s for quite some time before Ireland kicked in and everything happened. But I think it was a great contest. It was a very close affair. but Zimbabwe ended on the wrong side of it, which was something unexpected. They were chasing the game right from the start. They never looked to be cruising.
Yeah.
Another thing that Zimbabwe will really have to work on is their chasing, because this is now I think the second game in this World Cup where they have really crumbled under pressure trying to chase. They crumbled against
Same
West
thing here
Indies.
as well. They lost a lot of wickets in power play. From there on, it was an uphill task
Yeah,
for
yeah,
even
yeah.
Zimbabwe. I know
Yes,
Sean
at
Williams played a
35 for
blinder of
4,
a lot.
it never looked like Zimbabwe was actually going
The
to chase
game
it down,
came
but
very
great innings
close.
from Sean Williams.
It came down to 12 runs. I think 15 runs of the last over, if I'm not wrong. 15 or
Yeah,
16.
15 of the last
15
over.
runs of the last over. So the game came very close. And it even came even more close after that no ball. It was a 5 runs required of the last ball. Then everybody went inside the dressing room.
Blessing Muzarabani could have been a hero for the side with the bat this time around.
Yeah.
I know he just didn't see the ball. I don't know what he was swinging. It was agricultural stuff from him. He was just swinging all across. I think Engarava, if he would have connected one there, one more, he
Yeah,
connected one.
just one
Would
goal.
have connected one more, he would have been a hero as well. But that's how sport goes. Happy for Bangladesh, and Bangladesh is also in with a chance of qualifying if they can stop India.
Yeah, but
And
I think Bangladesh has just won the two games against Netherlands and Zimbabwe, so they'll face India and Pakistan next. So it is not going to be easy for
yeah,
Bangladesh. Not going to be easy at all. And the two games that they won seemed very scratchy. Today's game was probably a better effort than the game against Netherlands, but still huge scope of improvement in the Bangladesh camp. I don't see them. Another game where they were saved by one of the batters going on and scoring it big. I think Shanto played a brilliant knock tonight.
but still,
Uh,
I think they're going to really be challenged against Indian bowling, especially Adelaide night under the
and, and just to
night is going to be easy.
end on that point, I think India bowled really well tonight. I think both Arshdeep Singh has been a revelation once we started calling him out for not really picking up wickets early on. I think after that, in the 6 or 5 games that he has played, he has picked up close to 7 8 wickets in the power play itself. So he has started to be a great threat for the opposition in the power play. And also, I loved how he set up Riley Russo. The first ball just went away from him, and the second one just nipped back in. Great review from Rohit Sharma again over there, because
Hmm,
I think Arshdeep was not quite sure whether it was going to miss the leg stumps or not. So great review
absolutely.
over there. Great bowling from Arshdeep Singh. Mohammad Shami bowled like a pro. I think if this was something that we could have expected from Mohammad Shami,
This is what I said
like
yesterday
heading
as
into this
well.
World Cup,
I
India
said out
would
of
have
all
been.
the Indian bowlers, I did say out of all the Indian bowlers, Mohammad Shami will enjoy this pitch the most, and that's what happened. But what really
I
I
would have
think
really loved to have seen someone like Umran Malik run in this wicket. How
I
lethal
think
he
Umran
could have.
Malik, Prasidh Krishna, two players I really
Prasidh
thought India
Krishna
would
would
have
have been
loved
very
that.
lethal as well with his
Prasidh
height.
Krishna, I think with a new ball on this pitch, back of the length is his staple delivery. He would have
Yeah,
enjoyed bowling on this pitch.
I
And
think he would have really troubled all
I
for that.
felt in some ways India kind of. That's where I felt the Harshal Patel would have been an interesting choice here, because if he had tried, because he would have been an extra pacer, he would have given you those overs that probably
Yeah,
could have
to
covered
be very fair,
Ashwin's
today
bowling.
you do not need a
And
spinner,
you didn't
and
need
you want
you didn't need an extra spinner. I felt one spinner, that is an Ashwin, and then one fast bowler who can bat a bit towards the end. I think it would have been a
to
better
be
choice
honest,
than
today you do
Deepak
not
Hooda.
need any spinner. If you were playing Deepak Hooda,
So for
then
me,
you could
your two options in this team would have been to add either Rishabh Pant or to add Deepak. I mean, or to add Harshal Patel. So you either
yeah.
lengthen your pace bowling attack or you lengthen your batting, and you lengthen your batting properly. Today I felt Deepak Hooda is not a kind of batsman I feel will do well on a Perth pitch. I think he'll do much better. I mean, at least from what we have seen of him, he'll do much better in conditions like India, or maybe even conditions like UAE, but not conditions like Australia where the pitch is really spicy.
I mean,
And that's
not
where
I think
not
somehow
in
haven't
Deepak
Perth
Hooda
tested
would,
Deepak
too.
would have
Hooda.
been a great addition to the team if he would have played in Sydney
No,
or
to be
probably
honest,
Melbourne as
whatever you say of him, the shot he played today was very careless, I would say, at that stage, because you didn't want to hang your bat out there when you lost a wicket and you knew Nokia was charging in quite hard. That was a nothing shot which he played to get out to Nokia. I know the ball was coming in quite quickly. The pitch was not the easiest to
I
bat,
think
and you
all of
hang
his
your bat
shots
out
were
there.
nothing. It was survival mode for Deepak Hooda while he was batting there.
He just faced two balls, but even those
Yeah,
two balls,
and he just
he looked
looked
absolutely.
completely out of place. He looked like fish out of water, to be very honest.
Yeah, that was not needed. He could have possibly taken a little bit more time, given Suryakumar Yadav, some kind of partnership. Deepak Hooda is a very good player of spin. Yet again, I say, Deepak Hooda should have been a little more tentative. But that's where I felt Indian team really miscalculated the Perth pitch because they did not know what was a good score to set. They thought maybe 160, 170, they'll have to really force themselves to put something around 170 to defend because they knew what happened in the India series where South Africa can chase any total down and they can at least come close. So that was always behind their mind while setting a total. So in that case, it was better off you chasing at least when you have a target in mind. I know it's not easy chasing in Perth, but then it'll give you a better opportunity than setting a target in front. And when you're totally confused and when you do not know how a pitch is going to play out, that's why I thought India really faltered. A lot of tactical mistakes which India made today. I hope India doesn't make that going ahead. And the good part is that India are not going to be playing in Perth anymore. At least that's out of the question. And Kapil, as you mentioned, I think Pakistan and South Africa are going to be playing in Sydney. That's why I believe Pakistan is going to be having a better chance of defeating South Africa. And with Harris Roth and Cutters and Shadab Khan with the kind of form he's in, he can really trouble South African batters. You never know. If they can defeat
And
South
I think
Africa
if
there.
Shaheen Shafiri is able to get some swing early on, the South African team will really struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. And you already saw how they're struggling left arm
Yeah.
seamers up front. So Shaheen
Correct.
Shafiri
But
will be there.
once again, I think the problem with the Pakistani team in this World Cup has been their batting. I think the bowlers have bowled their hearts
You know
out
what?
and the bowlers have
I'm pretty sure someone like a Fakhar Zaman will add a lot of confidence to this team. And today
Yeah,
he looked
and I'm
very
surprised that Fakhar Zaman got a go in the third game after
He was not fit.
they
He was
lost
not
to.
fit. He was not fit. That's the
Okay, he
reason.
was not fit. That could have been the only plausible reason of playing somebody like a Haider
But
Ali
you know what? They're
ahead of
playing
Fakhar
close to
Zaman.
4 openers in their top four. They're playing 4 openers in the top four, which is
Yeah,
not a good thing at all. Yet
but
again, a lot of
and
batters
also
batting
Babar
out of
Azam has been
position.
really struggling. We saw this phase from Babar Azam in Asia Cup. He was not getting
You know
runs,
what's
and today
funny?
also
His
he
average
got out.
in multi-nation tournaments this year is just 8.
Yeah, but tonight's dismissal, I think it was a bit unfortunate. I mean, it was brilliant fielding from Netherlands, but
Mhm.
when things are not going for you, nothing goes for you. So
We've seen that with
it was
Virat Kohli
that's
as well, right? You'll find
yeah,
different mode of dismissals to get
different
out.
unlucky dismissal, unlucky ways of getting out. So
I think
it's
Babar
just
Azam
that
will have one big innings. I don't know who it is going to come up against. Maybe it's against Bangladesh or maybe it's
Bangladesh.
against
Yeah,
South Africa.
I don't see Babar Azam really getting a hold of this South African bowling attack. It looks lethal. Probably it won't be as lethal as it was in Perth in
I
when they're
believe
playing in.
Pakistan have a bowling attack to restrict South Africa to a very
Definitely, I
moderate
think it is
score,
their batting
but it's going to be the
that can
batting.
really yeah.
Yeah. I think Mohammad Wasim Jr., Harris Roth, you saw he was breathing fire today. The one which Bass, the lead got hit. I was like, oh my God, his life was there. Because Harris Roth on Perth wicket is deadly. He was
Yeah.
balling at that 150
Also,
pace and he
Mohammad
was hitting
Wasim,
the
I think
length.
Mohammad Wasim, the way this Pakistani bowling attack is actually very fiery. I mean, all of them come in, they
Yeah,
try to
they're
clock
very good
in
bowling.
speeds of
I
I
think
maybe
he's the
think
150
best bowling
kilometers
attack of the
per hour.
tournament.
Yeah, I think Shadab Khan's, when Shadab Khan went up and said, that this is one of the best bowling attacks in the world, I think he's not far off.
Yeah, he's not
Definitely
far off. And I
on the
think they
pitch.
are the
I
best
think,
bowling attack in this tournament.
and Pakistan has got a very versatile bowling attack, and on most pitches they're lethal, unless it's a pretty flat pitch. If there's something on offer for the bowlers, on regardless, I think if it's on offer for spinners and it's on the drier side, you have all three of the fast bowlers who can ball cutters, who can ball slow deliveries, and obviously you've got Shadab and Nawaz who are very good spinners in their own capacity. And if it's a fiery pitch is Perth, as we saw today, they can blow teams away. And when we spoke about Netherlands and Pakistan, we did say the Netherlands batting is the weaker part. And the way Pakistani bowlers bowled today, their batting just got nullified. And there was no way that Pakistan would have lost it from there on.
Absolutely, and that's why I think Pakistan also will be kicking themselves that they couldn't really make use of it. They have their batters to blame at the end of the day. Today also you saw they were not very comfortable chasing 90 odd. They lost a couple of wickets towards the end. It could have again resulted in a collapse if it was even 130 on the board. So for Pakistan, it's going to be an uphill task in South Africa. They have themselves to blame. I don't think they should be blaming India out there. It's never a good thing, to rely on oppositions. Last year, India was on the receiving end of this.
Also,
India relied
I
too
read
much
a
on.
chat where it said will be funny if India lose to Bangladesh and knocked out. I definitely think even if India goes on to lose against Bangladesh, Bangladesh will have to go on and beat Pakistan to knock India out of the tournament. So
Which
that
you don't
looks
want to
very
be
slim.
in. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. To be honest, yeah. To be honest, it's not easy. I think you're there's a lot of mathematical combinations which has to go right. If India lose the next two matches, they're knocked out. That's another thing. But then, to be honest,
I think in this
uh,
World Cup, you can't lose more than a match in the whole tournament.
Yeah. When
If you
it is
lose more
a
than a match, then you suddenly put you're on the back foot. You're catching up then, and you need a lot of things to
definitely
go in your favor.
when only
Also,
33% of
let's
the
not
teams that
forget.
plays goes into the next round, I think you'll have
Yeah.
to win at least 80% of your games. So
Also, I mean, let's
basically,
not forget.
have,
There are.
and
I would still say there are 13 teams playing in the Super 12. One of them is Rain. You never know which match Rain comes in and defeats your team and knocks you out of
yeah,
the tournament.
absolutely.
So
So
India, I
that's
think
the
that's
almost
one thing
changes.
Indians will be worried about, because India
To
and
be
Pakistan
honest,
are two teams which
to be
have
very
not
honest,
faced
if
the
South
rain
Africa
curtailed
would have
match
won
yet.
against Bangladesh, Pakistan wouldn't even have been in the picture today.
Yeah,
So
correct.
that's one result which went Pakistan's way
yeah,
as
South
well.
Africa, if they would have uh, won against Zimbabwe, they
Yeah,
haven't played. Oh, they won against Bangladesh.
they won against Bangladesh. But you know what? Talking about that once again, I'd like to say that relying on a team which is not yours is never a good thing, because India were relying
Definitely.
on Afghanistan in the last World Cup to defeat New Zealand to go through. It did not work India's way. When you lose
India
two
were
games
relying
in the
on
World Cup,
Afghanistan in this Asia Cup as well to go through, which it did not work for them. So I
Almost
definitely feel
worked
that,
for them. Let's
yeah,
not forget.
almost. I mean, see,
you
when you
never
rely
rely on
on other
Afghanistan.
teams, there is a lot of probability that comes into picture, and the
Yeah,
probability
absolutely.
of you going through is very slim.
I'll
So
tell you, to be very honest, if you're a football fan, I was supporting Barcelona, and Barcelona wanted Victoria Pilsen to defeat Inter Milan to go through to the Champions League knockouts, and it's not going to happen. Come on,
I
there are
remember
days when
Victoria
the best of
Prison players even waving to the camera for Barcelona to see
yeah.
Barcelona to see, but that
I'll
was the
give you a
only thing they
scenario.
did
I'll
for
give you
Barcelona fans on that
you
day.
remember, if I talk about cricket in 2009 ICC Champions Trophy, India wanted Pakistan to defeat Australia to stay alive in the tournament, and India relied so much on Pakistan. It was a very close game like this. Australia went on to win by 2 wickets or 3 wickets, if I'm not wrong, towards the end. And ultimately, that's what you can do. You can't rely on a team to
and
qualify
you
unless
know
you're
it has
RCB and
never
relying on
worked for
Mumbai
Team
Indians to
India
defeat
when
Delhi
they have
Capitals.
relied on other teams to sort of go through to the next round of
But
ICC
I'll tell
tournament.
you, I've also had joys like this. When RCB relied on Delhi Capitals to lose to Mumbai
No, but
Indians,
I'm
and
talking about
that was
international cricket.
epic.
Yeah.
There was a movie also which was made out how the team was there waiting for them, and also Netherlands are
Correct.
relying on I think UA to go through to the semi-final, to go through the World Cup. That was also a very nice moment. So very few occasions these things do come into picture, but then more often than not you'll be disappointed.
I mean, I remember the great run where Chennai had so many, I think it was 2010, when Chennai had to get through to the quarters, I mean, not quarters, the playoffs, and they wanted many things to go their way. And I think it was Dhoni and Irfan, smashing Irfan Pathan to get into that tournament where lots of fixtures went Chennai way. So it happens, it goes your way sometimes, but then most often than not, when things are not in your control, you
The
never know what's
probability is
going to
very
happen.
low. The probability
Yeah,
of
it's
you
just
going through is very low.
that's the reason why these kind of things stand out, right? Because most often than not, does not go your way. But when it does,
Absolutely.
it's just beautiful.
Sport is a very funny thing. You
Me
don't
being a
script it.
KKR fan have no such stories because of the times that we have qualified, we have just qualified on our own.
I think
We
the
do not rely
previous
on
time, I
others
don't
to.
know, most recent time when KKR got through, when Owen Morgan was a captain, something like that happened,
No.
right?
I thought they were very good. They
No.
finished
They went through
they
on
finished
their
1 and
own.
2.
Whenever KKR has
That's
relied on
right.
other teams to go through, they haven't
It has never
gone
happened.
through. They have
It's
ended
very
fifth or
few
sixth in
chances
the
that
league.
it happens. I think in
Yeah.
2020 season, KKR wanted results to go in their favor. It did not. It's very tough when you want results to go your favor. It doesn't happen always. Don't you think tournament shows reality of nations cricket, where they stand as a unit? Of course, you play for these tournaments. You want your
Yeah.
team to show up in these tournaments. So this is where the real test of your mettle is as a country, as a team. You practice all across 1 year so that you can show up to these tournaments and show your best cricket. If it's a 50-over format, you play all the bilaterals focusing on the World Cup. You set a team focusing on the World Cup. If you look at the last 6 months, India were focusing only on the T20 World Cup. So this is where you really want to step up. You can be a hero in bilaterals. You can win matches. It's almost a pride to win matches for India. It all matters. But ultimately, you'll have to show up in big stage. That's why New Zealand has done that brilliantly. They've lost a lot of bilateral series, which has not gone their way. But when it comes to big tournaments, they step up big time. That's why you respect them. And Aisha says Pakistan will win against Bangladesh. And of course, you want Pakistan to win against Bangladesh. If they don't,
But I
then
think
Pakistan
what we
will have
saw of
bigger problems.
Pakistan today, you felt like Pakistan is a lot more confident now, at least going forward. They should be. But unfortunately, next few matches that they're going to play are going to be exhibition matches and nothing more than that.
I mean,
But unless
yeah,
the 13th team comes into picture, you know.
Yeah, the rain. Having said that, I
Rain.
think we'll end the live right here.
No,
I mean, we've
also
had.
not that. I think I think if Netherlands somehow goes on to beat South Africa, then Pakistan are in this game.
I mean, if India couldn't beat them,
I mean,
No, I mean Pakistan will have to beat South Africa. Also, Netherlands will have to go on and beat South Africa for Pakistan to make
I
it
mean,
through.
I
anything
mean,
can
Indians
happen.
would hope that Pakistan beats South Africa because that's the only way India tops the group and does not
Yeah.
face England or
Given
Australia.
that we have two full
Which
games against Bangladesh and Zimbabwe, and India end up winning.
See, India's one of the games are in Melbourne, but the conditions going around Melbourne, it's
I
not
think
looking
it's in
good.
Sydney, right? One
No,
is
no.
in
The
Sydney.
Zimbabwe game is in Melbourne, and with whatever has happened in Melbourne over the last 1 week, you'd hope that rain stays away in Melbourne for the last group game for India. And in Adelaide, it looks very clear as of now, and I
Yeah.
think India should have a good game in Adelaide. But the Melbourne game is where the worries will start to quicken. Even if it's a washout, I think India will go through in that case, regardless of what happens. But then I think what's going to really happen there is, for South Africa, they'll have to be on their A game as well. They don't want
See,
a
7 points
bad
will
result.
ensure you qualification anyway. So even if one of the games is washed out and India wins the other one, they are going to get qualified. But with the net run rate that South Africa has, India will have to win convincingly in the game that they win. Other
Yeah.
than that, I don't see them topping the group
I know if
because
if there's a rain effect now South Africa can end up on 6 points and Pakistan can only go up to six from here on. Even there's a rain affected game, South Africa might end up on 6 points. And if Pakistan goes on to defeat South Africa, but now what's the issue? Net run rate is what comes into picture because South Africa's win against Bangladesh was so huge, the net run rate isn't positive. Now Pakistan will have to really defeat South Africa
no,
and
I think
Bangladesh to
Pakistan
head
That's
to
did
also where I think India's
really.
loss today comes into picture because India did not lose by too many balls, and that helps their net run rate. It doesn't help, it doesn't reduce the net run rate by quite a bit. And the way it started, you would have expected South Africa to chase it down by 17. I mean, at least the way it ended, India's innings ended, you would have not expected this to be too much of a competition. But Indian bowlers really fought back hard, and that's where you have to give credit to India where it's due. And I think there was a question by Kapil as well. I think it was early on whether India will lose their momentum. I think this kind of losses you don't technically lose your
you.
momentum because you've been beaten comprehensively. You have won in a way. It's a game where you
Also, I
knew
think
India
with
could have dropped
Pakistan's win
points.
tonight, it did a lot of good to their net run rate, but still they are lagging behind South
Yeah,
Africa by a huge margin.
Yeah, they'll have to now defeat
correct.
Bangladesh big. They have to go in to defeat South Africa big. It's not easy, especially the game against South Africa. What's going to decide. I mean, Pakistan are almost out, but then still for South Africa also they would want to finish on top of the
No,
group.
South
So
Africa
that's
versus
still a good.
Pakistan is going to be a big contest because if you have an upset uh, in any other matches in this tournament, probably the game against India, or if actually Bangladesh manages to beat India, then the Pakistan versus South Africa game becomes huge.
Yeah, very, very much. Having said that, I think we'll end the live right here. It was great to have you all on the show asking your questions. I know it's been a disappointment for a lot of people out there, especially from the neighboring nations. It's not good time, but then ultimately, you can't rely on other teams, and I don't think this acting, fixing, all these things come into picture. Because every time when you want to play in a World Cup, India also want to finish number one, and I know this happened even 2019 World Cup where they wanted us to defeat England and it not go their way. But now,
See,
see.
in like it happened for India as well. India have in T20 World Cups itself, 2009, 2012, they did not make it to the
A lot of
semifinals because
occasions it has happened. I
yeah,
remember where
because they relied on other teams to
other
defeat
teams to
another
defeat, and
opponent
you want to.
for them to go through.
It doesn't work. It doesn't really work that way in tournaments like this because South Africa had the edge today, especially coming in Perth, and they had the better bowling. And today's wicket is the only day where you think South Africa can really challenge India. Maybe if this was an Adelaide, I would have said India would have really rolled over there. You don't know what would
Yeah.
have happened. Those Virat Kohli stoppage would have been a six today. So these things only happen in
Hmm.
Perth, and that's why South Africa wasn't better. For good thing for Indians are that they're not going to be playing in Perth anymore, and Indians can take a sigh of relief. The better pitches they're going to be playing is Melbourne, where they had good record. Adelaide, and if they go to play semi-final season, Sydney, and again if they play finals, Melbourne again. So this is going to be India's schedule going ahead. Thank you all for joining. Have a good time and download the app, play the predictor. And I hope you have won something in your predictor if you were supporting South Africa and if you predicted Lungi and Giri would pick up more than 3 wickets. So airports are coming your way. So you can win some exciting prizes by playing a predictor, absolute free of cost to play it. Get onto our app right now. The link is in the bio, and have a great time playing all these predictors and fantasy contests with Boom 11. Good night, all of you.
Good night, guys.
Right, guys.